Hey guys, this is Josh here. So I wanted to go ahead and bring y'all a video pretty much telling y'all what I used to get to Mythic this season that just ended. If you look here, I wanted to give y'all a heads up on this Phoenix build that I've been using, mainly because I did just go 18 and 2 on my grind to Mythic last night. I normally do hit Mythic. I didn't have enough time to try and grind past Mythic this season, but yeah, I want to go ahead and just go ahead and jump into the deck, and I wanted to make this video because there aren't many sideboard guides when it comes to Phoenix either. So I kind of want to do a sideboard guide on this deck as well, and y'all can let me know what you think. And now that this new season has started, I think it would be a good time to post this video, since a lot of people are going to try and grind Mythic right now. I think this is the best possible deck and the best possible build you could take into Mythic at this moment. So anyway, let's just get into the deck list. So the only real things that are different, I am using one Maximize Velocity in the main board. This card won me at least 7 games on that 18 and 2 grind. Just an extremely strong card. It's 2 spells on its own for Arclight Phoenix, and also the Jumpstart mechanic allows you to discard a card, which can be great in a clutch moment with a Phoenix in your hand. So that's one tech that I'm using, and then you'll see the other tech I'm using for Stormwing Entity. No Sprite Dragon, and if I can still find this, I just want to show you guys something real quick. So let's go to decks. I want to show you guys some statistics when it comes to Stormwing Entity. So we're going to go to Historic, Best of 3, and we're going to go and switch to the previous meta, which was still this month. Alright, we're going to go down to, is it Phoenix? So if we go to View Archetype, and now it's sorted by win rate. Highest win rate build, 66.5%, running 4 Stormwings, with 180 matches as a sample size. If you look here, 120 matches sample size, only 2 Stormwings, significantly less win rate. So I've been using 4 Stormwings for quite a while, but every single time that I drew Stormwing, when I wasn't using 4, I just wanted more of them. I just want more Stormwings. I would probably run 5 or 6 if I could. This card is just insane. So this card allows you to use Anger of the Gods, because when you cast Anger of the Gods, Stormwing Entity becomes a 4/4, which no longer dies to Anger when you cast it. This card will, I promise you, will just win you so many games. It's just a consistent win condition that can also allow you to find another win condition if they do somehow get rid of this. It cannot be. It's really hard to March of the Otherworldly Light this, because it's 5 mana. You can't Fatal Push this because it's 5 mana, right? You have some pretty good, you can play things in response, you have some pretty good interaction. You can play things in response and boost its toughness to survive a lot of different things as well. So just an all-around solid card. This is definitely the reason this deck did so well on that 20-game run. So now that I have kind of my tech choices revealed, I want to go ahead and talk about sideboarding and the sideboard plan. So when it comes to the sideboard, you'll see I'm not using any Abrades. I'm not using that black and red saga that destroys all 1-cost permanents. What I'm trying to do with this particular build is just accept the fact that I'm not going to beat food. If I'm going to play against food, there's a good chance I'm going to lose regardless of whether or not I bring in sideboard help. So what I would rather do is take the loss there and make my control matchup stronger and make my creature matchup stronger. And as you guys can see, that it worked out perfectly well. So you'll see I'm using 2 Chandras. That's a little bit different. Most people only use 1. And I'm using 2 Fry. Fry is just extremely good against Azorius Auras, Azorius Affinity. It's good against all the control shells. It's good against the mirror match. I really debated on using 3 Fries, but I decided to use 3 Angers instead whenever I was building the sideboard. Yeah, Anger is just obviously a game changer. You side out the channelers and you bring in the Angers, and now Anger doesn't kill anything in your deck, besides Phoenix. But that never really comes up. So yeah, let's get into like the specific matchups and what I would actually take out. So let's pretend like I'm against control. We'll do the control sideboard guide first. So you pretty much bring in literally everything. You bring in everything except for the Anger of the Gods and except for the Tormod script. So let's go ahead and get all this in here real quick. Bring in the fries. Okay. Gonna bring in the disputes, Brazen Borrower, and the two Chandras. Okay. So now we have 10 cards to take out. So we are going to take out Finale of Promise, all of the Channelers. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's for a different matchup. Against control, we keep in the Channelers. And we take out the Unholy Heats. Take out the Spikefield Hazard. Take out the Pillar of Flames. So now, what I generally like to do is I like to cut one Phoenix and one Looting. This is what I did every time I played against control. I never lost against control. If you just look at this as 60 cards right now and think about it, there's just no way this deck really loses against control. They will have to go 1-for-1 with most of your cards, and most of your cards are like enter the battlefield effects, or they're getting you value before they can kill it anyway. Like for instance, Crackling Drake. You play Crackling Drake, draw a card, and then they use a card to kill the Crackling Drake. You just got a +1, right? They just spent one card and you got 2 cards. Same kind of thing with Svyelun. Same kind of thing with Chandra. So you have too much value here. You have too much interruption as well. The Fry is obviously extremely strong, but the reason it's so strong is because it kills Lyra and it kills Baneslayer Angel, which can be huge problems. And the majority of the time, that is Azorius Control's entire sideboard plan against you, is to play Rest in Peace and play Baneslayer and hope that you can't kill the Baneslayer now that your Unholy Heats are turned off. But what they don't know is that we sided out our Unholy Heats and we brought in Fries. So they're going to have a hard time against this deck. You shouldn't lose against control ever. So now I'm just going to reset this real quick. And I'm going to show you guys a different kind of matchup. Alright, let's do like a creature deck matchup. Like, let's say it's like Rakdos, like a creature heavy Rakdos deck. So we bring in like the 3 Angers. Now, every single game, we're going to be bringing in the Crackling Drake, the Svyelun, and the Chandras. Every single game. The reason for this, hold on. The reason for this is because we need to be less reliant on our Phoenix plan in case the opponent does draw into a Lantern or a Grafdigger's Cage or a Leyline or Rest in Peace, something like that. So every game we have to expect that our opponent is going to bring those cards in. So then you have to think, what cards in my deck are bad now that there is Graveyard Hate? And it ends up being a majority of the time that a lot of the cards are bad now. So that's why we bring in a lot of cards as well. Brazen Borrower is probably fine, depending on what deck it is. You know, if it is a creature deck, like humans or auras, you can obviously bring in the Fries, but we're going to pretend like this is like a Rakdos deck for now. So against Rakdos, which I did play against quite a few times, I'm trying to remember what I sided out here. So we always side out the Channelers when we bring in the Anger of the Gods. Always side out the Finale. It's bad if they draw any graveyard removal. Same kind of thing with Ox, but in some matchups, like against Rakdos, I would probably keep it, just because the games can get pretty grindy against Rakdos, and also it just gives you kind of a plan B. If everything else goes to hell, you can at least refill your hand. So I actually do most of the time keep in the Ox, but some people like to side it out. Now, most of the time, Pillar of the Flame doesn't really kill much. So against Rakdos, I do take out the Pillar of the Flames because I am bringing in extra removal, even with siding out the 2 pillars. I'm still bringing in an extra removal spell. And now we probably want to look at cutting like a Phoenix, or maybe 1 Looting. Generally, I like to keep the Lootings to turn on my Delirium, because we don't have Channelers to help us with Delirium, so we need the Lootings to try and turn on our Unholy Heats, in case we do have to kill a Croxer or something. looking at this, you know, it's kind of like the same thing as control. We're just getting too much value. We're getting too much value with their 1-for-1s. They're just not going to be able to keep up. So this deck should win every time in that kind of matchup. Alright. I'm wondering why there's missing cards in the sideboard. I probably just did something weird. Okay, so now I'll do like one more matchup. I think y'all pretty much have the gist now of how this will go. A matchup that I think I should cover is actually the Auras matchup. Super annoying matchup, really strong matchup. It can go either way. You do generally have the upper hand because you're able to kill their early game creatures. But if you don't draw the removal and their creature gets out of Unholy Heat range, you know, it's bad news bears. There's really no coming back from that. So it's definitely it's not an easy matchup. So especially when they bring in things like Dispute to counter your Stormwing or Crackling Drake. So definitely bring in the fries. This is our Auras metagame, Auras sideboard guide. So trying to remember if I brought in the Chandras. I'm pretty sure I did. Like I said, I bring them in every single game. So the good thing with Chandra is that it deals 4 damage, but it also just refills your hand and gets you the tempo that you need if you already have control over the board, which a lot of times you do against Auras. Crackling Drake comes in. So Anger of the Gods is going to come in. The main reason is because if they play something like double Esper Sentinel, like we're just gonna have to, we have to get rid of that. And it also will force the issue of their indestructible dog, whatever the fuck it's called. So we also bring in a Borrower, and I think this is the Svyelun. Svyelun, obviously, like I said, comes in every game. So when it comes to what we're taking out, I think at this point we are taking out Ox. It's too slow. We are taking out a Phoenix. We're taking out 4 Channelers. So we want to keep in our removal. We're going to take out Finale. Trying to remember. I think this is best, just to go with 2 Phoenix and 2 Lootings, keep in all the removal. You could bring out the Velocity, I guess, but it's just the amount of games this can kind of just sneak you. The kind of games you can, the amount of games you can sneak a win with this card is what I'm trying to say. Is kind of ridiculous. So this is the 60 I would bring against Auras, and you'll see we have just so many answers to the early game creatures, as well as just very strong, solid, consistent win conditions that can find us more win conditions. And you can see the deck still has its identity. There are still Phoenixes in the deck. It can still pop off with a Phoenix turn 3 or turn 4. But what you're mainly trying to do is in the game with a big Stormwing Entity or a big Crackling Drake while keeping control of the field. That's the main goal against Auras. You want to try to keep control over the board state. You always want to have the bigger creature, and you always want to have more creatures than them. But more importantly, the bigger creature. Let's see if there's any other matchups I want to go over here. Gruul, I could do a Gruul matchup, but it's going to be pretty similar to the Rakdos matchup. You're just going to be bringing in your Anger of the Gods, and they're going to have a really hard time. That's a pretty easy matchup if you can draw Anger, or just enough early game removal. Really easy matchup. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much all I feel like I need to cover when it comes to the sideboard guide. So the main reason I really wanted to show this deck, I don't feel like this deck is being crafted correctly on the ladder, you know, for competition on the ladder. What a lot of people will do is they'll take a shell of a deck, and this is a shell of a deck for like a tournament, and like for instance the Kamigawa Set Championship, people are using the exact 75 card lists from that set championship, which was an open deck list tournament, and they're using that list to go and play on the ladder. That list was built for that open deck list tournament when they pretty much already knew what the metagame was going to be. When you're on the ladder, the metagame's going to be different. You're going to be playing against a lot of different types of decks. So your 75 cards needs to be needs to be more rounded to help you in more matchups, which is why you see things like Fry come in, which is a multi-matchup all-star. It's why you see a completely different shift of win conditions. You you'll see we win the game off of Stormwing Entity just as often as we win the game off Phoenix, if not more so. And this obviously doesn't get hurt at all to Graveyard Hate, not one bit. That's the best thing about this deck is your opponent is going to be bringing in things like Tormod's Crypt and Lantern and Rest in Peace. But post sideboard, it's really not hurting you. And if anything, it's hurting them. You know, they could have had a different card other than that Rest in Peace. That just doesn't do anything to my 2 Crackling Drakes on the field, you know. So yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and end it there. Keep this video kind of on the shorter side, kind of show you guys what techs really work. If you want to kind of dive into what some of my matchups were with Phoenix. I mean, I did play some Yorion, so this is it's kind of hard to tell what I played against. Here we go. So, I beat the mirror match every time, as you'll see. I beat Auras twice. This also could have been, I think this was Auras once and Control another time. Only 2 decks I lost against was a mono green deck. It was a mono green Elves deck, and then I lost against Heliod. And the only reason I lost against both of these decks was because I didn't draw my Anger of the Gods. But, you know, sometimes you just don't draw the cards you need. It's fine. I beat Grixis, I beat Mardu Humans, Mono Red Burn, this was Orzhov Auras, Rakdos, this was Rogues, Mono Black Control, pretty sure that was Auras, but yeah, no real problem against any of these matchups. I didn't end up playing against Food, but that's one reason why I did decide to have the sideboard like this was because Food just is not very popular right now. I haven't played against it once, therefore I'm just not going to waste cards in the sideboard to sideboard against Food when there's just not too many of them going around. And let's be honest, there's just, even if you sideboard in like 9 cards against them, there's just still such a high chance that you lose that matchup. There really is. So it's better to just kind of give up that matchup, maybe just try to win the race against them, and try to improve your matchups everywhere else. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here. I could keep rambling about this deck for a long time. If y'all do want another kind of video like this with this Yorion control list that I am working on, or that I have been working on, I should say. It's also very similar, but let me know if y'all want to see it. It also did pretty well in ranked, as y'all probably saw. It went 10-3. But yeah, if you guys want to see that Yorion control deck, let me know. Also, if y'all want to see gameplay of the Phoenix deck, let me know. But I mean, you can get Phoenix gameplay anywhere, so I figured that's kind of redundant. But yeah, if you like this kind of content, I will make more. Give me a comment, give me a like. You'll have a great day.